What's up, y'all? This is Brave, and I'm back with another review of Toya and Reginae. This is season 2, episode 6, and the episode is titled, Where's My Apology? Let's go ahead and get right into this review. Alright, so we are starting off exactly where we left off, and that is with Anita feeling like she needs an apology from Walter. However, you have Toya chiming in the background, like, oh no, you need to stay, or whatever, but Nita walks off. This is the second time that Nita has walked off, okay? Because the first time, Toya called her back, saying, put it on the floor. This right here is the second time Nita has walked off. Here's the thing. This conversation should not even be happening right now, okay? If anything, yes, okay, Nita could feel some type of way, and she tried to walk off. I feel like if Toya would have just let her walk off, this kind of would have blew over, and maybe Walter and Nita could have had a conversation separately later. However, with Toya hyping the situation up, like, put it on the floor, come back, say whatever you gotta say, that just made matters worse. And then on top of that, you're doing this in front of all these kids. Nita don't know them people. Like, why are we having this conversation now? This conversation should be about, the siblings getting together, how they plan to continue their relationships, something, anything but this. Now, let's jump back into the situation, though, because Walter is on the phone still. And I'm like, y'all ain't hung up on him yet. He's still on the phone. And he's like, yeah, well, if my mama was to apologize to you for breaking all the TVs and stuff because I was there for that. And here goes Toya chiming in. Yeah, I was there for that too. Here's my thing. To me, that's a reaction. That lady did not just come up in the house breaking TVs just because she felt like it. It's given Walter has done something, and that was her reaction. So, Walter, what did you do for her to break them TVs? I'm just curious. Was this one of the times that you had a baby on her and she found out about it? I'm just curious. Now, keep in mind, while all this is happening or whatever, of course, Toya's dad, it seems like the type of guy to always crack jokes. And he said something and, like, they all start laughing or whatever. And what's crazy is the way Reginae was looking at her mama. And y'all know, Reginae can give some faces to where she look at people like they are beneath her. But the way she looked at her mama, like she was in complete disbelief that her mama was over here laughing and giggling while her grandmama feelings was hurt. Oh, baby. Reginae felt away for sure. Like, for sure. Like, it looked like she wanted to cuss her mama out. For real. Because she could not believe what she was witnessing, that her mom was just playing in Nita's face at this point. So at this point, Reginae jumps in and she's like, yo, nobody is taking up for her. Like, I thought Walt was going to say something on the phone, to be like, hey, my mama feeling some type of way, but that's not even what's happening. Like, all y'all laughing, making it seem like it's a joke, and that lady feelings hurt, right? Like, at the end of the day, that lady feelings is hurt because we got to sit around here and we got all these 11 kids out here that he had in between the relationship that he had with her. Like, that is crazy. But let me tell y'all what I realized, though. Reginae, she has already peeped the scene on this because her own daddy did this. Follow me here. Now, for the most part, Reginae has grown up as a spoiled little brat. Her father's Little Wayne. And she was the only child for a very long time. However, once Wayne started having kids again, he had 3 kids all at the same damn time. Let's not forget that. You had Nivea pregnant, you had Lauren London pregnant, and I don't remember that third lady's name, but it was another woman who was pregnant as well. All 3 of them kids, I believe, are around the same age. Maybe one's older, by like a year or something, but I could be wrong. Actually, no, I think they're all the same age. So, I'm pretty sure Reginae has recognized this situation where here goes a man having all these kids all at the same time, yet you're expecting for each woman to not feel some type of way that you played in their face. And now that she's an adult, because keep in mind, all that happened when she was like a teenager. Now you get to be an adult. And then you see that your grandfather did the same shit. Like, you played in a woman's face, having all these kids in between, cheating on them. Like, honestly, this isn't really a celebration the way they trying to make it seem when it comes to the actual factuals. Like, yeah, he got a bunch of kids. Yeah, it's beautiful that all the kids can come hang out with each other. But at the same time, do you see how much drama and trauma that you done put on all these people? Like, it's crazy. Now, back into the situation, Reginae still feels like somebody should have took up for Nita. And the grandfather was like, oh, well, everybody knows how Nita is, or something like that. And of course, Toya chimes in and she's like, exactly. And I'm just like, yo, Toya, like, the way you're acting right now, you just became a little girl. And what I mean by she just became a little girl, Toya is acting like, you know how some girls are daddy's girls? Yet because she could not be that when she was younger, because her daddy was in and out of the house, because that's the vibe that I'm getting, now that they're on good terms, she has jumped back into being like 6 years old and being a daddy's girl. And whatever my daddy says, I believe. Like, I'm on my daddy's side. I'm going to stand up for my daddy. Like, that's the vibe that I'm getting. And it's like, you don't need to be a daddy's girl at this point. Like, that phase, you should have phased out, baby. I'm sorry, you missed it. You need to go ahead and be like, you know what? Let's just go ahead and shut this conversation down. Dad, maybe we can have another conversation later with my mom. Because this conversation should have changed at this point. Once Nita walked away, we should have changed the subject. Or at least, at minimum, why didn't anybody go check on Nita? Casey, you could have got up. Beatty, you ain't doing nothing. You could have got up. Everybody just sitting there. Like, the fact that Red had to jump in and still be like, yo, Nita could still get an apology while Toya is over here making excuses for her daddy is crazy work to me. Like, so wild. Now, while all this is happening, though, what's crazy is that Toya gonna tell Reginae, who at this point is almost 30 years old, you need to go be a grandchild somewhere. So, Reginae did just that, baby. She went on ahead, walked off, and she told them to take her mic off. Like, if I was her, I would have been pissed off as well, because you are so adamant, Toya, to be a daddy's girl and take up for your daddy that you ain't listening to reasoning from anybody. Like, it's kind of crazy. But also at the same time, you're telling your daughter, who is not a child, ain't been a child in I don't know how long, yet you're telling her that she needs to go be a grandchild somewhere, which is very much telling her you need to go be in a child's place. I'm sorry, what? Like, it's crazy. You have come today with all kinds of stuff. We have heard you complain about your siblings, complain about your mama. We done seen you tell Nate all kinds of stuff. However, in this situation, because she's trying to stick up for her grandmother, you are adamant to go against what she's saying. I mean, completely not even listening and dismissive. Like, Toya, you gotta do better. So at this point, she pissed off. She tells him to take the mic off. She walks off. Nita comes back because she finally found backup in Danielle. Baby, Danielle is a family friend. She don't even need to be in this drama. But Nita had to have somebody have her back. So Danielle comes outside. She's like, y'all ganging up on her or whatever. And Toya tries to explain that, no, we're not ganging up on her. Whatever. So again, this lady wants an apology. And she's like, this is all just a joke to him. And she not lying. Nita, they may say a lot about you, but in this moment, you ain't lying. Everything has been a joke to this man since we have gotten here. Okay? He's so proud to have spread his seeds around the world of New Orleans in that 7th ward, that Everything has been a joke. He just skinning and grinning. But like I said, all that trauma and drama that you done left these kids with, you don't give a damn about. Or with their mamas. So Nita brings up the fact that, y'all want to have this reunion or whatever. Where these kids' mamas at? Where they at? Now, I understand this is about the siblings. This is not about the mamas and all of that. But I do feel like if Nita was going to be here, you should have, given that invitation to them kids' mamas as well. Now, I don't know what they mamas doing nowadays. You know what I'm saying? But it sounds like some of them are around. So, yeah, y'all should have went on ahead and invited them too. Now, in the confessional, y'all, Toya has the audacity to be like, yeah, I know my mom, she should be getting an apology from my dad, but not right now because all his kids are here and they're uncomfortable. Sweetheart, sweetie, you made them uncomfortable. You the one who kept egging this conversation on while the people all sat there on mute because this ain't they mama and they drama, okay? This is not they mama. They don't know the ins and out of Nita and Walter like you swear you do. So you made this uncomfortable, sweetheart. You brought this on yourself. Now we jump back to what's going on. And Walter's talking to his mama about how she the realest person and how, she had all these kids with Walter. But in this moment, this is really about Walter and all of his kids. And Danielle hopped on that phone and said, yeah, but here's the thing. She was in love with this man. She had kids with this man and he had a bunch of kids on her. Thank you. Thank you, Danielle. Finally, somebody says it. It's like they were skating around the actual conversation that needs to be had. Everybody is skating around the fact that man had all them kids on her. Like, this shit ain't cute. Like, yeah, it's great that he supposedly was a father to all these kids, but was he really a father? Like, it's not given that he even put in time and effort into all these kids. Be so for real. But I forgot. For some reason, in the black community, we just be so happy that we know who the daddy is and that he may have come around a few times. It's supposed to be a celebration. All right, so then Toya chimes in, right? And she's like, this is my mom, this is my dad, and they have some issues or whatever with each other. They need to come together and talk to each other. But I know both sides of the story. I'm annoyed. I'm already annoyed because here's the thing. Toya, you know what your parents have told you. And yes, there may have been some things that you have seen, but for the majority of their relationship, you were a child. And with you being a child, you saw things from a child's perspective. You were not privy to every conversation that the adults were having. You were not there for everything that was actually going on because it was above your comprehension level. Okay? So yes, maybe your parents have told you stories, but a lot of times stories are skewed. So I'm going to need for you to stop inserting yourself in this situation. You could have just left it as, let's table this. My parents need to have a conversation separately. I would have rathered y'all just went on ahead and sent them off over by the pool somewhere or sent them in the house to say, you know what, how about y'all go have that conversation now and go ahead and wrap this on up. Now, Toya is going on and on about how, she didn't get along with her dad and how now they get along and there's some other kids that's here that don't get along with this man, probably because he was never a father to them, yet they're here. Anyways, she keeps going back and forth with what they're supposed to be talking about and how I guess now the siblings are supposed to put their issues with their dad on the table instead of this being about Nita and Walter. And I'm just like, well, you should have kept it there initially, because when Nita felt some type of way and when she walked away, you should have left that where it was, and then you could have brought up how these kids don't like their daddy. Like, again, Nita walks off. I'm like, please let this be the last time. We don't need to revisit this no more. Then Casey does a confessional, you guys. Baby, maybe therapy is working because Casey basically broke down the situation when it came to Walter and Nita. He's like, his mom got on drugs, Walter was on drugs, and the only difference was that Nita wasn't able to get off of it, but Walter was. Now, yeah, he may have been able to get off those drugs, but he was also a Rolling Stone making babies everywhere, and it doesn't seem like he took responsibility for the kids that he had. You know what I'm saying? It's not giving while Nita was on drugs, he was raising those kids. I don't know who was actually raising these kids. Like, who actually raised Casey? I don't know. I don't know if they had a cousin or auntie. I don't know. But it damn sure wasn't either one of their parents. And now, hopefully, for the rest of the kids who's sitting over here, they had a different story. Because I don't know if everybody's mama was on drugs or what was going on back then. But, like I said, hopefully their parents actually raised them. I mean, their mamas at least, because we know that Walter wasn't going to do it. Now, at this point, Casey over here tearing up at the table because this is probably bringing up a lot of past emotions for him. However, I feel like in this moment, he is trying to hold it together. And here's the thing about him trying to hold this together. Remember how they were like, oh, he was blacking out at that event that Toya was throwing, or not throwing, but the event that she was a part of, the parade. Casey was blacking out at the parade because it brought back a bunch of memories and all types of things about being in New Orleans. I'm like, oh, this boy already crying. Please don't let him have another episode. But I feel like he really did try to hold it together, and maybe he wasn't drinking at this event, so maybe he can hold it together a little bit better. But here's the thing. Toya is going on and on. When I say on and on, baby, I don't think anybody else has spoken at this table for a while. She's going on and on about how her mama owed her daddy an apology, her daddy owed her mama an apology, and how she know all of this stuff. And at the end of the day, she's not picking sides, but also at the same time, she's laughing at her dad. She's laughing with her daddy and her mama. Like, girl, you are all over the place. Shut up. Just shut up, Toya. Like, this is the time for you to shut up. Please, let somebody else have the floor. Beatty, you got something to say? Anybody? Like, again, we see Casey. He's in the confessional. He talks about the fact that, he had all these siblings. He ain't never seen them before. He never knew them kids was related to him. Yet, he has already lost 2 brothers. So he could have been building relationships with these kids years ago. But on top of that, the thing that probably hurts the most is that his dad never came and got him. You knew that it was all this trauma. Nita was on drugs, and you never came and got your kids. And that's my point. Toya, you over here taking up for a man who was a deadbeat. Like, what are we doing right now? And what's crazy is that Casey's sitting right next to her. Casey is tearing up, sitting right next to her. This girl didn't lean over, didn't look over, didn't wrap her arms around her brother to be like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. Like, all of this is making you cry. Nothing. She just yapping. And it's crazy to me. I'm just like, yo, you don't see your brother breaking down over there? Like, get it together. Now, we do see Nita come back through or whatever. And Walter finally gets up and he gives her a hug. What frustrated me was the fact that she had to tell him to say sorry. I'm just like, girl, if you had to tell him that, he don't really mean it. But if you gonna take it, sure. The crowd goes wild. Everybody's cheering, and at the same time we see Toya say that she feels like her mom makes everything be about her. And I'm just like, no, you brought this on yourself because you invited your mother and you didn't have any of the other mothers there, so why was she? How about that? Take responsibility, Toya. Then after that, Big Walter starts to cry because he never apologized to Rudy, and Rudy ended up passing away. And I'm just like, sir, again, you're bringing things on yourself because you were stubborn. Like, you're mad because your son called you out on your BS of all the trauma that you probably put him through, and you couldn't take accountability. Sir, this is, again, it's all on you. So one of his daughters got up and hugged him. Oh, baby, Toya was not about to be outdone, so she jumped up to go hug her daddy. And I was just like, girl, scoot back. I think your sister has it. How about you go hug Casey? Casey's still crying over there. Go hug Casey. So, next thing you know, Toya ends up getting up to go talk to Danielle. Toya still not getting it, still not understanding her mama feelings. And she's trying to invalidate them every chance that she gets. Every time somebody says, oh, Nita felt, but my dad, but my dad, but my dad. Toya, just relax, okay? Like, just say you don't like your mama. How about that? Just say you don't like Nita, and we can move on. At this point, multiple people have tried to get in Toya's head what's going on, but she ain't following. Now, I will say that the Aunt Kira, she had made a lot of sense because she was like, her mom seeing all these kids, that probably triggered her. But also at the same time, Toya, we get it. You've always had to raise everybody around you. But I'm just like, in this moment, she wasn't doing none of the raising. She was all in the mess. Okay? Well, let's not forget that Toya was not being very messy in this whole conversation. But let's go ahead and move on. Now, we do see Clarence pull Casey to the side. And as we know, Clarence was a family friend. Shout out to Clarence, because Clarence was the only one who actually checked on Casey. And what annoyed me was seeing Walter, Big Walter, in the background. And I'm just like, sir, so are you going to check on your son? To be like, hey, everything good? Because I saw you was crying over there. Just want to make sure you good. Never saw that. However, Clarence was like, I know that brought up a lot of emotions out of you, but just think of it this way, like you've been going to therapy and you were able to release this stuff. And I said, hold on, buddy. I don't think he was actually able to release all the past traumas. He will still need to be in therapy for them because, my God, those parents of his have put him through the ringer. But let's go ahead and move on. So now we see a conversation between Toya and Red, and honestly, thank God for Red. One thing that I will say is that Red is a good man. Red, he rides for Toya, but also he will call Toya out. And I respect that about him, because he definitely told her to be like, listen, I get it. This was all about your dad, but at the same time, you got to stand up for your mama. And you already know if your mama's having a moment, then she's going to look for you to be on her side and at least be able to take up for her. And he right. I have yet to see Red try to guide Toya in the wrong direction. So shout out to Red. Now we do see Toya have a conversation with her mama. Of course, she blames it on the fact that they always joking, so she didn't know that they were serious. And at the end of the conversation, they on good terms, okay? Nita, she did tell Toya that, every time I get into it with your daddy, you always take up his side. But at the end of the day, they back cool. Alright, so next we see Toya talking to her dad to check in on him about the situation or whatever. And next thing you know, Nita's walking by. I said, okay, production. This was all production right here. And they kind of chit-chat about the situation, how, she needed her apology and how she appreciates that he gave her an apology. Big Walter is saying that, he wished that he would have been able to apologize to Rudy, but Rudy passed away. This scene, it was cool. I feel like this was production's way of being like, all right, everything's good, so that way we can go ahead and wrap this whole scene up with a bow. So we do get to see the family have a good time. Beanie, she starts DJing, everybody's dancing, like I said, having a good time. And now we have to go back to Atlanta. So we do see the siblings get together, which is Beanie, Toya, Casey, and Walter. So they basically catch up on what happened in New Orleans. What happened at the reunion. They talk about therapy. They talk about the parents. And they talk about the fact that Mel and Beanie are back together. Moving on. Now, speaking of Mel and Beanie, we actually see that Beanie decides to actually have a little spa day for Mel because she missed her so much while she was in New Orleans. So they basically have a conversation about the drama that happened in New Orleans with the parents. But also the fact that Beanie is very adamant about Mel meeting up with her sister. Now, across the way, we have Toya and Danielle having a conversation, and Toya admits that she was in the wrong. She didn't see things from her mom's perspective. She didn't see things from Red, Danielle, Reginae's perspective. But now looking back at it, she gets it. She understands it. Now, what I think happened is that once the whole thing was over, Red was probably the one that got Toya together for real, to be like, Toya, you was dead ass wrong. Because one thing that I noticed about Red is that he will call Toya out. He's not going to do it in front of everybody. You know what I'm saying? He's going to pull her to the side and be like, no, you was dead ass wrong for that. And I feel like that's probably what happened, especially considering Toya listens to her husband. Now, when it comes to Reginae, though, she says that she's going to give her daughter an apology because she shouldn't have talked to her in that way. And I'm like, you know what? I love that. I love that Toya is able to recognize where, she disrespected her daughter and wants to make things right. Because at the end of the day, like I said earlier in my review, you've come to Reginae with all types of stuff. Why was this moment the one time when you really tried to son her and put her in a child's place? Like, come on now. She's not like 18 years old. Hell, she's closer to 30. Come on now, Toya. So, we end this conversation off, though, with Toya basically saying that she don't want to meet up with Mel. Okay? I don't understand why she don't want to meet up with this girl when all they're having is a basic conversation. A very basic conversation. Like, I understand y'all had some drama back in the day. However, your sister has now gotten back with this girl. They're back together. According to Beatty, she's happy that she's with Mel. Toya, what's the issue? Especially considering you just had this girl in your car when you had to drive him to the hospital. Like, what are we still holding on to? What is this? Oh my gosh, I can't talk to Mel. Like, what are we easing up for? Girl, let bygones be bygones. It's not like you dating this girl. As long as she make your sister happy, that's the only thing that matters. Move on, girl. Stop holding on to things that you cannot control. You cannot control who your sister's dating. So you just gotta let it go. But y'all, that was the episode. Next week looks real interesting. And I'm gonna be right there watching. Y'all let me know what y'all thought about this episode. I know I spent a lot of time talking about the parents, but that's where the whole episode was at, okay? Go ahead and like, comment, subscribe to our channel, and I will talk to y'all in my next review. Bye, guys.